So yes, there's and I'm back because Arsenal's back. So yeah, the World Cup's over. Obviously, best World Cup I've ever seen in my life. Best World Cup final I've ever seen in my life. Probably the best World Cup performances, well, World Cup final performance I've ever seen in my life. The World Cup was great, but now we're back to Arsenal, back to the Premier League. So yeah, based on where we were before the World Cup, I think Arsenal were what 5 points above Man City from the last from what I remember. Let me just double check that. I think Arsenal were 5 points away from City. Just to double check that one sec. Premier League. Yeah, 5 points away from Man City. Obviously, that's not a big gap knowing how good Man City are. But it's a good place to start if we're trying to chase the league title. So yeah, the World Cup went smooth for the majority of our players. I mean, when you go from back to front, and you think about Ramsdale didn't play. Ben White, the same thing, came back home. Um, Saliba played, I think, just one game for France, if he did. But yeah, he's well rested. Gabriel didn't go to the World Cup. Same with Zinchenko and Tierney. Partey went to the World Cup, but obviously they went out quickly, so he's back. What's it called? Odegaard didn't go to the World Cup. Granit Xhaka went, but made it to the round of 16. He's got a great engine, so any little break that he gets is enough for him, anyways. So he's back. Martinelli went to the World Cup, but came off the bench a few times. I think he started one game against Cameroon, I think it was. Then you have Saka, obviously played the most out of all of the others. But yeah, again, he's got time to rest anyways from now anyways because he went out in the round of 16, so which is fine there. But and then you got the main issue that came out of the World Cup, which is Gabriel Jesus. So yeah, obviously that was the worst case scenario where the guy who's been performing really well. Obviously for him it's really sad as well because had a great start to the season, expected to be the number 9 for Brazil. They threw a curveball and brought Richarlison in there to play up front instead of him. And then he went in there and played. Still came off the bench and stuff like that. And then he gets an injury. And Brazil didn't even go far again. So everything he had worked towards and everything he had built towards, it all just fell apart in that sense where he got an injury, Brazil were knocked out, all that sort of thing. So it's a bit bad for him. He's gonna have to build himself back up again, build his confidence back up again. Even when he comes back from the injury, when I think about it, they're saying it's like he'll be out for 3 months, but the thing is, he could be out for even longer in terms of like actually getting back to his best level because he's a player that plays with a lot of intensity, presses a lot, runs around a lot, leaves everything out there. So for him to get to that same physical level again, he even when he comes back from fitness, he still needs to be match fit and then to get to his actual fitness level that he needs to or that's required for him to play in the same way he normally plays. So with that said, that then brings in Nketiah. Obviously, we know that Nketiah is going to have to be the one that's going to have to replace Martinelli here. I'm already seeing, oh, not Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus here. I'm already seeing a lot of stuff about Nketiah already saying he can't do this or he can't do that. Or, I mean, just give the guy a chance. You have to think about he's a backup striker. And when you think about all the backup strikers in the league, there aren't that many who you would expect to be at that kind of level that he's at. A lot of backup level strikers aren't at this level. So, well, let's look at what he does compared to Gabriel Jesus. What Gabriel Jesus gives us is the fact that he's an option in the box because he gets himself into the box to score goals. He's an option in terms of pressing, and then he's an option in terms of link-up play as well. So he gives us all three of these things. What Nketiah gives us as well is that Nketiah has the ability to drop deep and link-up play. He also can press as well, and he's an option in the box also. The biggest difference between the two of them is that link play aspect in terms of because Gabriel Jesus is a lot more technically gifted in that sense where his link play, we've seen with the link play, he's dribbling in tight spaces and things like this, and he's passing around the corner and linking with teammates to bring them into play. That's a really high level compared to what we will get from Nketiah. So that could be an issue there that we're going to miss out. For me, I feel that that's going to be the biggest thing we'll miss out because if Nketiah knows how to get into the box to score goals and he's got the ability to press, he's got the mobility to run channels and run in behind and things like that and drop deep to offer himself to us. So I think the main issue that we're going to miss out with Jesus not here is going to be the link-up play. But I feel we just need to give him a chance and see what he can do because we saw what he did in the the 6 months before the end of the season, before he got a contract, and we saw what he was able to offer to us. So I think just give him a chance and let's wait and see what happened. I think a bigger thing that we're going to need to address is obviously we've seen the links to Mudryk already. Yeah, as I was saying about Mudryk. Yeah, so I feel like that's going to be an important signing if that does eventually happen, because when you think about it, we started the season, as I mentioned, with Martinelli, Saka, Gabriel Jesus, with Nketiah off the bench. Now that Jesus is off, we've only got Nketiah, Saka, and Martinelli. So we're going to need like another option off the bench that can change the game, and that's going to be Mudryk. Because when you think about it, when you think about what he's going to offer for us, is in terms of like. He gives us the ability to ensure that Martinelli can also play up front, because we've heard a lot with Arteta saying that Martinelli can also play as a 9. He mentioned that with Smith Rowe as well, but I feel like with Smith Rowe's fitness, that's not really something that we can actually rely on. So I think the main thing would be rotating between Nketiah and Martinelli as strikers, depending on the game or during games as well. If we feel like Nketiah's not performing a role and we want to switch it up with Martinelli instead, and I feel like that's important because when you think about what we've been missing for the whole season. We hadn't had another option to Martinelli and Saka, and that's what Mudryk can offer us. So when I look at Mudryk, obviously I've seen a few games of him in the Champions League. I think he played against Celtic and stuff like that. And in those games, what I can see from him is that he's got the ability to create. He's got great pace. He can dribble the ball. He can carry the ball. He's got the ability to create separation between players just due to the pace. He can make good runs off the ball as well. My main concern with him at the moment, and it shouldn't really be too much of a concern, it's just something I need to see more of and see if he can actually do it, is that I need to see how he's going to be able to ride challenges against more physical defenders. Because one of the biggest things that wingers from other leagues face when they go to tougher leagues is that they play against defenders who are not just going to leave them be. They're going to be on them, marking them closely. So it's like you need to be able to ride challenges and you need to be able to perform and whilst in a duel. So when you think about like some of the best dribblers we've seen, guys like Hazard, even like Saka and stuff like that, and even Ribery, just players like that, the main thing you see with them is that even though the defenders are on them, on pressing them and like tight with them whilst they're running, they're still able to maintain their balance and then hold onto the ball and still be able to make the right decision whilst they're being marked tightly by these defenders, and the defenders is following them and holding them and grabbing them whilst they're running. At the same time, they're still able to maintain their balance and use the ball properly, and at times even create separation. And that's something that's important with Saka as well, because we see Saka do this. Is like he would receive the ball back to a defender. The defender's holding him, but whilst the defender's holding him, he's still able to roll the defender at the same time. Even though the defender's still trying to grab his shirt and stuff like that, he's still able to maintain his balance, turn him, and then play a pass or create separation from the defenders. And that's something that's really important, because not many wingers come to the league and are able to have that physical part of the game to it. Because yes, you can have all the skills, but you also need the physical aspect of it as well, because you're going to have defenders holding you tight. You're going to be doing 50-50 situations, playing in these tight spaces. It's going to be so much contact. You need to be able to ride this contact, ride these challenges, and be able to create your separation and find your teammates as well. So that's something I need to see more of Mudryk do. Another thing is also play against deep blocks as well. And because we've seen a lot of him in transition, we need to see more of what he's able to do when the opposition has sat back really deep. And obviously, if we're going after him, I'm sure we've done a lot of our the scouts have done their homework and they've checked to see if he's capable of playing in this situation. I just need to see it and see if these are things that he'll be able to do. With Martinelli, I already mentioned about Martinelli playing 9. Obviously, I don't know if it's going to be something that's long term, but I think it's an option that we can see with in rotation with Nketiah. Another thing is I saw today just like a little trailer where Arteta made a comment saying that we need to see Martinelli get more goals, which is important. I feel like since Martinelli has been playing out wide, I think obviously with the way Zinchenko plays, where he's drifting into midfield and Xhaka's drifting into midfield as well at the same time, attacking the half space, and then Zinchenko's going into Xhaka's spot, it means that Martinelli is having to play really wide. Besides the time when he then drifts inside and goes across, he's very wide. So it's difficult when you're playing really, really wide to then make that extra run into the box, you get, because you're always receiving the ball in wide areas once we arrive in the final third. But what we need to get more situations, and Arteta mentioned, it's about he needs to play on the final line. He needs to play on the last line. And that's important because we need to see Martinelli, just as soon as we get into the final third, we need to see him making those little quick runs into the box, just little sharp runs into the box behind the defenders, so he can get in there. And then maybe Zinchenko rotates onto the left and then crosses the ball. That's the way. That's the best way for him to be able to get into the box, to get into situations where he can score goals. Those situations are going to be hard for him to get goals when he's really wide. So it's difficult. It's not so easy when you're having to balance these two things, because the thing is, he can't always drift inside because Xhaka's always in that spot or Zinchenko's always in that spot. So he has to stay wide to maintain the width. But at the same time, he needs to be able to balance out between when they're deeper or when Xhaka rotates on the left hand side, he needs to also go inside. So yeah, Arteta's mentioning and saying to him that he needs to play on the last line, but that's also something that Arteta needs to address within the system as well. He needs to also ensure that Zinchenko and Xhaka are also overlapping him on the left, and then leaving him space for him to be able to use in the last line, to be able to get in behind and then become a goal threat, because we can't just rely on the strikers to score the goals. We also need the wingers also to get into the box to try and score goals. We've seen this from Saka on the other side as well. We need to see more from Martinelli. I have mentioned previously about how his shot count has actually gone down, so that's something that we need to see from him as well. Yeah, so that's the main thing. Obviously, we've got West Ham. Let's see how that's gonna go. Again, we need to be able to maintain our consistency. Consistency. I hope that's something that we can do, because we've seen obviously there's been like a break and stuff like that. Whenever there's a break, there's always like issues in terms of getting back the momentum and getting back to where we were before, getting back to the speed of how we were playing before. So it was important that we had that mid-season friendly, mid-season friendly, just to get us back up to speed again. And I hope the players are able to, because we need to keep the ground running again and just get back into the same pattern that we were, because we were actually getting into good form as well. So before the break happened, so it was good that we obviously maintain that gap, but at the same time we need to quickly get back into the same consistency of what we had. So it's good that we haven't had too many injuries. Yeah, we've had Gabriel Jesus, but hopefully if Nketiah can kind of offer us what Jesus was doing. Obviously he's not going to do it to the same level in terms of the link play, but just give us what he was doing in like a similar fashion, and then maybe add Mudryk, which is another option that we didn't have at the start of the season, and then see what that and see where that can take us again, because obviously we're still chasing the league title. But yeah, man, that's the main thing. But yeah, Arsenal's back. I'm back. Any more news, I'll be uploading again. But yeah, closer to the West Ham game, I'll drop another one again. Anyways, that's me.